Hello, everyone. It's been a little bit since I've been on here, so I figured I'd go ahead and do another video. One of the first laws that Donald Trump had broken was dealing with the immigration laws. Okay? On January 20th, 2025, the day of his inauguration, he canceled an executive order from Joe Biden, which is the 46th president of the United States. Now, cancellations of an executive order aren't illegal, but the rewriting of an executive order pertaining to the immigration status is. He wrote a proclamation on it, and Donald Trump is the 45th and 47th president of the United States. In that executive order and proclamation, he had written that, in his opinion, Joe Biden's executive order is unpopular, inflationary, illegal, and one of his favorite words is radical. So he also called the executive order that Joe Biden had written radical. Trump wrote a proclamation and executive order declaring a national security at the southern borders, declaring a national emergency. Another favorite word of his, national emergency. Targeting the immigration of people coming from other countries. He says it's to drain the swamp. Okay. To rid America of illegals, criminals, rapists, and murderers. You see, the problem falls at him not only removing people that are here listed and proven to be illegal. And when I talk about illegal, I'm talking about any person of any nationality that come here and didn't go straight on over to the immigration office and doing at least the first set of paperwork to announce your existence here. Okay? Let someone know that you're here, that you're not coming here with the purpose of never letting anyone know that you even exist as a person. Okay? He's not even trying, he's not only doing that, but he is illegally trying to remove people that are charged with a crime that was committed here in the United States. Now, in the United States, yes, there's a lot of people that migrated here that are not yet been sworn in under oath and sworn to the Constitution of the United States. But at least 90% of the laws cover anyone that is here on American soil. If they commit a crime in the United States, depending on what that crime is, it's either a misdemeanor and charged at a state crime under the state laws, or they're charged under felony laws of that state, or they're charged with federal laws that blanket the laws over the whole entire United States. Okay? Now, by law, these individuals are upheld by at least 90% of the laws and have to be treated or, well, tried by a jury of their peers. Okay? Which means that they're supposed to be locked up in a jail, brought before an immigration law judge, okay? And once they see the immigration judge depending on the outcome of what they're doing here, why they're not registered, why they haven't even done the first set of paperwork, or whatever the case may be, the judge, it's up to the judge to decide whether these people can file for asylum and legally be able to reside here and stay here, or if the judge fills out a deportation warrant to have them deported. Okay? So at the end of the day, it's up to an immigration judge to determine what the circumstances are and what should be done. Okay? But not only is he going after people that haven't even done any paperwork to show their existence, but he's going after people that are supposed to be criminals. Okay? Yeah, coming here without announcing yourself to anyone with immigration that you're here, it's illegal. Okay, yes, I get that. But he's going after criminals that are legally allowed to be here, whether it be under an asylum or birthright citizenship or even naturalized citizens. Okay? Once you have birthrights and you are naturalized as a United States citizen, by law and the constitutional amendments, you can't just snatch people up off the street, snatch their life from them, and send them to just any country you choose to send them to, just because you sent them $40 billion of the taxpayers' money. Okay? Now, $20 billion came from some banks that he's involved with, and another $20 billion came from private donors, as he says. Okay? But he also took $40 billion from the disabled and the low income people from their food stamps, defunded the Medicaid, defunded Medicare, things like that. He's not supposed to be doing any of that. Okay, now, so he's doing all this without due process, and everyone that's on American soil are entitled by law to due process. They have to. And if there is somebody here that is undocumented, that hasn't done anything to announce their presence and existence, yes, that's fine. Deport them. But there's a right and wrong way to do it. There's a legal and an illegal way of doing that. There are humanitarian rights. There are civil rights. There's constitutional articles and amendments, sections. These are human beings. Even if they are the worst of the worst, there are laws in place that does not allow you to treat people just any kind of which way you choose to. Okay? Matter of fact, one of them is even in the Constitution of the United States. Rights in criminal cases, rights in civil cases, rights of assembly. Let's see, Supreme Law of the Land, which talks about the Constitution. The one I'm looking for has got to do with unfair treatment. So anyway, but yes, even in the United States Constitution, it does talk about unfair treatment. So everyone is entitled to due process because they are on American soil. DHS isn't following due process laws. Not only are they illegally not giving and following due process, but they're getting people that are here on legal authorization on asylum, things like that, and they're being snatched up. And these people are birthright citizens, naturalized citizens. This is illegal. Okay? This is illegal as hell. And Donald Trump was immediately hit with major criticism with all this illegal actions from the very beginning of his presidency. All this goes against the United States Constitution of America. Article number 14 and section 1 says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any laws which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction of equal protection of the law. Okay, equal protection of the law means that they are supposed to be given a hearing, go before an immigration judge, be judged by a jury of their peers, depending on how that works in the immigration laws. And inevitably, it's going to wind up being the decision of the judge on if they allow someone to stay here based on the immigration. There are only a very, very, very small exceptions to the rule of law on a naturalized U.S. citizen, and I'm not positive what those are at this moment. I haven't dug that deep yet, but depending on what those crimes are, they could remove your citizenship. But before they deport you, you're going to be judged in front of an immigration judge and be sentenced here in the United States and serve your time. Once you serve your time, then they can deport you. But DHS is even breaking laws on deporting people to countries under immigration laws and constitutional laws of immigration to a country that they have never been to, born of, or even reside at. Okay? Everybody wants to argue that are all these MAGA people. They've got it all twisted in their head. They're saying, well, they came here illegally and they weren't born here and they didn't belong here, and all this other stuff. Look, the difference is they had the freedom to choose where they wanted to go, and they chose the United States. They were not brutalized and forced to go to the United States. Okay, if they were brutalized and all kinds of stuff, and they fled the country they were in seeking asylum and came here because they knew under our laws that they could actually get help, that was their choice to come here on their own. They didn't have their government rounding them up like a bunch of animals and throwing them into a warehouse in a cage and making them lay next to a toilet that was overflowing, laying in feces, urine everywhere, eating moldy bread, throwing up, getting sick, and thinking that you're giving women sanitary products for when they have their cycles by tossing them a diaper. How are they supposed to even get rid of the sanitary items or even tampons if there's no trash can, if the trash can's overflowing, people are laying next to the sanitary items, blood on the floor, vomit on the floor, urine on the floor, feces on the floor. They're not given adequate food, adequate water. That is the one main thing that you do have to provide is adequate food and water. They don't have to have the sodas and the coffee and things of that nature. Would it be nice? Sure. Sometimes people use a soda to help to control and regulate their diabetes. It is used sometimes to control medical purposes. So do I even agree with Donald Trump regulating the food stamps? No, I don't. Because you have no idea or clue on what each individual is using certain foods for. Okay? You just don't. You really, really don't. It's like my child. My child can't have anything that's got red dye 40 or caffeine in it. So I'm limited on what type of snacks I can buy for her, what type of food I can actually buy, what type of drinks I can buy for her, things like that. Okay? I've got peptic ulcers and I've got diverticulosis. There's only certain things I'm allowed to even eat that won't put me in the hospital throwing up blood because of diverticulosis or because of my peptic ulcers, things like that. Okay, foods are used for medical purposes as well. Not only to fill your stomach and give your body proper nutrients, but for medical purposes. Okay? And so, back to all this, with these people being stuck in these camps, it's wrong. It's completely wrong for them to even do the people the way they're doing them. Then, to top it off, there are people stuck in these camps that are being killed. One person has been said to have been lynched. There's 2 or 3 people that the medical examiner has declared they were murdered. They declared it a homicide. They had one guy sitting in a restraint chair, and when you're in a restraint chair, you're typically bound and gagged. Gagged in the sense of your mouth being covered, okay, where you can't be heard. You can't speak. And you can't cover somebody's mouth for long periods of time. I can't remember what it's called, but when you cover somebody's mouth for too long of a period, the oxygen that's supposed to be released isn't getting released in the same amount as it should be if it was coming out of your mouth. Your nose doesn't release the same exact amount. It's called CO2. That is the release of any toxins when you exhale. It can cause you to cough up blood. It causes a medical condition. Okay? Now, I'm not a doctor. Okay? But I have a very long history with medical conditions, not only with myself, but with other people that I know. Okay? There are things that I do know because I've lived and experienced these things not only through myself, but through others. This isn't right. This is inhumane. It is against the constitutional laws. And these things should not be done. And people wonder why I get irritated, frustrated, and sometimes angry at all of these MAGA people, okay? This isn't making America great. With the things that are happening and going on, it's actually looking like Nazi Germany. Not joking, not kidding, I'm not exaggerating, I'm not being dramatic or any of that. There's a man from Germany that has reached out on YouTube and has talked to the people of America, anyone that has come across his video. He talks about seeing what fascism looks like because they've lived through it. And he's warning us about it. Okay? Germany is seeing this happening. They are seeing these videos going worldwide. Okay? Worldwide. Venezuela, Argentina, Germany, Russia, China, Taiwan, Korea, Europe. Everywhere. Everywhere. And nobody's going to come and help the United States. Even the man from Germany reached out because he remembers America helping them when Hitler was there. And he's giving us warning because this is the beginning. This is the foundation being laid. And even in the United States Constitution, it does talk about how the American people legally can overthrow their own government when there's tyranny, chaos, treason. They're militarizing institutions in the streets. It's all in the Constitution of the United States. And people need to pick up that book. Enough is enough. He wants to talk about getting rid of the criminals, the rapists, the murderers, people that are here illegally, people that were naturalized as United States citizens because they have been charged with a crime. Well, how about we start at the very top? How about we start with Donald Trump? He's a criminal. Not only has he been charged with 34 felonies, but he also stole high classified documents from the White House the first time he was in office, which is the same thing that Nixon did. Now, it's not the circumstances and the layout of everything isn't exactly the same as Watergate, but he still stole cases of highly classified documents from the White House that are to remain at the White House. He's in the Epstein files more than 1,000,000 times. And that's in the first 2 dumps of files that they released. There's no way that you are in an international human sex trafficking ring if there's just 1,000,000 times, bro. Like, there's no way to deny that you're not a part of that. If you wasn't a part of that, there's no way you would be in the files that many times. There's no way. No logical way. He is the criminal. And he is running a crime out of the White House by everything he's doing. And if he thinks I'm wrong, maybe he needs to sit down and learn what the Constitution of the United States of America actually stands for. What it means. What it represents. What the guidelines are in that. What are the boundaries in that. What are the guardrails in that. Oh, yeah, that's right. He don't know. He don't want to read. He don't want to find out. He was in the president's house for 4 years once already. He's been in the White House again for another 13 months this month. And he still don't know what it is. And there's going to be a lot of you out there who are going to say, well, I bet you don't know what it is either. Blah, 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 blah. What you don't seem to understand is the Constitution of the United States stands for the, let me find the actual words, the right words. Politically correct here, okay? Let's see. It's the supreme law of the land, okay? It is the guardrails of our country, all right? Like I said, it just... So many people need to pick up the Constitution of the United States. There's a right and wrong way to go about anything and everything. And the way that this immigration thing is going is completely and utterly unconstitutional. It's illegal. People aren't getting due process. People are being killed in these places. They're not given adequate meals, food, water. Nothing. Nothing. These new camps that they're building have incinerations in them. Okay? These big ass things that have fire coming up out of them. In normal circumstances, they're used to burn certain trash. Okay? And the rest, like aerosol cans and, soda cans and vegetable cans, things like that, just goes to the trash. Any kind of paper, plastic, cardboard, anything like that can be burned. It cuts down on the amount of trash that's sent out and picked up. But with people getting killed in these places, y'all really, really, really do need to take a step back and stop and think, what do they really want these places for? They're huge. I've already seen pictures of them online. They're big. Better stop and think about all the voting. That may give you some answers.